Checked. Stop recording.
What is going on, YouTube universe? This is Daryl Bowles creating this video for the YouTube channel Access for All. You can find it at youtube.com/c/access for all. And, I don't know what this video is going to develop into. I don't know if it's going to develop into a rant. I don't know if it's just going to be a bouncy conversation, but I'm making this video because I haven't done anything like this in a while. Not since the question about continuing the Daily Blitz, and I'm happy to say that question has been answered thanks to someone who is actually sponsoring me this year to get the game. Well, I call it a sponsorship. Leonian Universe on my Twitch. He's one of my Twitch followers. He has been a stalwart supporter of the stream, of the Twitch stream for a long time now, and he has given me the opportunity to do the Daily Blitz this year, which segues nicely into what do we know right now. On July the 17th,
9:50 p.m.
Yes, 9:50 p.m., July the 17th, 2022. What do we know right now? Well, we know that a month from now, if you've pre-ordered the game and you get the Early Access Edition, which is the $89 edition, you're going to get the game 3 days early. We know that. You can find that at EA. Just all the major gaming websites talk about that. We know that there are lots of new changes to franchise mode. EA talks about these, and I'm going to go over some of them here. I know, according to YouTube video that has been leaked, that the sounds are going to be better. Much better than what they were in 22. Assuming, of course, that EA does not totally change the framework between the time that video was done and when the game is released. I don't see them doing that, but you never know. I really don't see it, though, because once they get that part of it done, that's generally something that doesn't change. I just hope they didn't take out the whooshing noise for the passing. Because that actually helps us to know when the ball is thrown by the computer. We know that there are going to be interface changes to different parts of franchise, including the hub. We know that free agency is getting a huge overhaul. It's going to be a hub now. You're going to be able to, at least this is for sighted players, are going to be able to bid on multiple free agents, do like they've always done, but it's going to go in stages now. There are player motivations, which are going to be really cool. And the question in the blindness community is, will we be able to do this? Here is my answer to this. In Madden 22, when they made an interface change to franchise and they added scouting, when they redid scouting, were we able to read every single thing with menu narration? No. There's still a lot of it you have to read with OCR. But there were a couple of things that did come out of that interface change that was really beneficial. Number one, we were able to see basic details of the player that we were scouting. Their position, what round they were expected to be drafted in, what percentage of the round they were, whether they were top talent, whether they were first rounder, whether they were bottom of the pot, in other words, undrafted, and how much they were scouted by. The second thing, which is something that I'd been clamoring for since Madden 20, was an accessible NFL draft during franchise. In Madden 22, and I will redo the video. I know that it did not come out the way we intended it. But in Madden 22, you can participate in the NFL draft. It is fully accessible. Fully accessible. You can see your draft board when you are called to pick. You can pause the draft. You only have to do that once during the draft. It's not something you have to do every pick. I realize that now. You pause the draft. You look at who you want. You look at their stats. OCR it again if you need to. Take your time. As long as it's paused, the clock stops. That's the big key there. And sighted people pause it, okay? Because there's no way that a sighted person, unless you've played the game for 30 years and you know the interface by heart, there's no way that you could, at a glance, read all of that data and just go, I want this one in a minute, or however long the clock is. And I think you can actually... No, I'm not even going to state that, because I don't think you can actually do that. But that's regardless. The draft is accessible now. It doesn't sound like much, but that is where I say to everybody, let's wait and see. Because when they made interface changes last year, at least in those two departments, it turned out really well. So free agency is getting a makeover. Contract negotiations are getting a makeover. The main franchise interface is getting streamlined. It's supposed to have clearer fonts. It's supposed to not be as cluttered, so perhaps menu narration will read more of it. But again, we don't know that for sure. Which leads me to my next point. And I know, and I'll be the first to admit, and I will admit it, that I have not been the biggest supporter of EA lately. But part of that is when Madden 22 was released, it wasn't just broken from an accessibility perspective. It was broken from a sound perspective. And it still is broken from a sound perspective. The crowd would fade in and out at random. Music that's supposed to play in the background would fade in and out at random. The sounds of the players hitting and running and trying to block each other, or defenders making tackles, just was not audible. It was very the sound implementation was not very well done. The receivers being open after playing with that for over a year, or for a year, I think I understand. I have a theory of what it's doing now. I think what is happening is that menu narration is waiting for the button prompts to come up. And when it comes up, it's announcing the button prompts. The buttons are flashing on the screen. The receiver icons are flashing on the screen, and that's what menu narration is reading. Is it telling you the one that's open? Well, maybe they're open for an infinitesimal moment sometimes. But it's flashing those icons, and I think that's what... If an open receiver is represented by a flashing icon, then that's what menu narration is telling you. Now, why doesn't it tell you other receivers that are open? Well, it could be that that's the only receiver that it can see. It could be based on where your QB is on the field. It could be based on any number of things. I would need to talk to a Madden developer about that, and, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon. So, does it tell you who's open? I would say about... On average, my passing percentage is anywhere from, if it's a real bad day, 65%, and this is playing against the CPU, to a really good day, about 89 to 90%. So, does it tell you who's open? Yes. Does that mean they're going to be open when the ball gets there? Not always. Depends on how good the defense is. And speaking of defense... Boy, the segues are coming nicely, aren't they? Defense is going to be a lot tougher this year. blitzes, QBs spending 15, 20 seconds in the pocket. It's not going to happen this year in Madden 23, and that's a welcome change to the people who like defenses. Honestly, I never liked having to chase, even on rookie difficulty, I never liked having to chase a QB around for about 30 seconds. And then what they'll end up doing is they'll run around, and then they'll take off. It's like you literally cannot have that much time in the pocket. That does not happen in real football. I've been watching football for over 20 years, and nobody has that much time. And yet that was a big thing that was broken in Madden 22. So they fixed that. Coverages on passing, and we just talked about passing and menu narration. Coverages are going to be a lot more intense, including on plays like one of my favorites, PA crossers. Corner routes are going to be covered a lot better. So Titans bench, FB corner, HB corner routes, things like that, they're going to be covered better. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to use them. It just means the defense is going to be better tuned to cover those routes after a little while. So you can't cheese play somebody. Which I'm glad for. I'm glad that people can't just pick one play and be like, I'm going to run this. And especially, and you know what? Sighted people will do this. And I know because I've played against them. They always love to throw deep. Especially if they're the type of player that loves to, dig the knife a little deeper against somebody. They'll throw it deep. Well, eventually now the defense is going to catch on to that. The AI will catch on to that. So even if you're out of play, there's a chance that the AI defenders will stop it. Supposedly, there's a little cleaner halftime presentation. The presentation overall, they said, from what reviewers of the game have said so far, looks better. Of course, this is based on the public beta. The public beta I keep calling it a public beta. It's not. I'm giving EA too much credit. It's the closed beta that people are invited to. I'm going to remember next year that I have a link to their public beta page, and so around about May or June, I'm going to start trying to get access to it for next year. But we also know that Ultimate Team is going to get some interface cleanup. So they've done lots of interface changes. Speaking of interface changes, I want to talk about someone that I'm subscribed to on YouTube. I've written to him before. We can agree on a lot of things on Madden 22. I've experienced some of the crashes. I've experienced some of the horrendous bugs that were in that game. But I want to say something. Ryan, I respect what you do. And a lot of your stuff I can agree with. You make a lot of salient and valiant points on the things that you discuss. But I want to talk about interface changes for just a second. And I've tried to reach out to you before, but I will accept your response on one of your videos that you get so many emails that you don't have time to look at them all. So I'm not upset about that. You're a big time content creator, and heck, I can't even get monetized on this channel. But that's neither here nor there. Ryan, I want to say this. You made a comment in your last video that said something along the lines of, this is just interface changes. It's not a big deal. When the screen reading solution that has been implemented by EA does not allow you to do things like free agency, did not allow you to do things like the NFL draft, still does not allow you an Ultimate Team to go to visit the store or the auction house, or to see your challenges, or to track your goals. does not allow you in franchise mode at present to set your talent trees properly. And EA makes interface changes. In Madden 22, when they made their scouting changes, the NFL draft became accessible to blind players, and I'm one of them. It may not be a big deal to you. It may not be a big deal to the people who follow you. But being able to partake in that part of a mode when for 3 years or for 2 years we couldn't partake in it at all, that's huge. That is a big deal. Being able to play the moments in a game and to see the in-game prompts to get the scenario and to be able to follow it, that's a big deal. When they introduce Superstar KO mode, and I know that's not your mode. You want simulation football. I'm not the biggest fan of the mode either, but I'm making a point. When they introduced that mode in Madden 20, it was a patch update. When they introduced that mode, the very first thought was, this mode is not going to be accessible for us. There's no way that menu narration is going to be coded for it. Boy, was I wrong. Day one, that patch was released, that mode was accessible. I actually got to the 5th or 6th round once in Superstar KO mode. So, interface changes are a really big deal. Especially when it unlocks the game for more players. Finally, just want to let you all know that Madden 23 is going to be fully released on August the 20th. If you have pre-ordered the game and you bought the All Madden edition for the 3-day early access, you will receive the game or be able to play it on the 17th of August. And before that, I'm sure, will be the EA Play 10-hour trial where you'll be able to get a taste of what is new. And there will be more content coming to this channel very soon, I have a feeling. So I want you all to stay tuned for that. And this has been Daryl Bowles with a content video update. Thank you all for listening, and leave your comments and likes or dislikes if you feel that is appropriate. And do hit that subscribe button.
Stop recording.